So today we have this awesome privilege of interviewing you guys from Hope Ministry Center. Hope is a great ministry that you guys are a part of. I'm just going to have you guys introduce yourselves. Michael, I know you play a big role there, so if you wouldn't care just to kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
My name is Michael Harrell. I am the director at the Belpre Hope Center, and I'm work really close with Corey here. Is a director of Getting VT, and I pretty much over the finances, the running of the center, keeping the doors open, and things like that.
Okay.
Pretty much what I do.
Okay, Corey.
Corey Chambers, the recovery pastor for Hope Center. I'm over volunteers, the residents, the family members. So I kind of shepherd the flock a little bit there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did this Hope Ministry get started in this area? As far as I hear it's different places, different locations. It probably didn't get to start here. So where did it originate? How did it come to be?
So it originated in Waverly, Tennessee. I do believe it was Waverly by Josh Hanna. And it started off with he had some guys, I believe, that just came that were starting recovery, and they were living with him, and it started off in his own house in his basement, and he just had a heart. His heart went out for people in recovery, and so it just started growing and growing and growing. And I believe that before long he just looked and got another house, and it just started off like that, and then it just went from there, and it just God just saw it was good, and really it took off, and now we have 19 or 20 centers in Tennessee, which is really the backbone of our ministry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's where it started.
and so from what I heard you guys say, that the one that's here in Ohio in Marietta is only 4 years old. So how did it come to be, and what made it happen?
Go with that one.
So Pastor Rob, they were looking for something along these lines, and he reached out to the Hope Center, and I do believe he went to Tennessee and visited some of the centers, and he just fell in love with it right off. He said, "This is what I'm looking for," and so they decided that's what they wanted, and so he went through the process and sponsored a center, and that's how we got opened up in Marietta.
So what makes Hope Center Ministries unique from other recovery ministries?
Well, I'd say, Christ being at the center, that's the focus for us as a ministry is Christ first. But there's also a sense of just $700 to get into our program, where other, facilities, it might be, $30,000 a month through insurance. So we don't take insurance. It's $700 up front. And like we were talking about, on the end, they end up getting a check cut to them for that $700 when they graduate.
So they get the money back from what they put into it.
Yeah.
And I know that's right there has to be a hurdle for a lot of people, is the cost to go to a facility. So that really kind of helps eliminate that issue there with not having a high cost of entry for them.
Yeah, and so we'll offer, we have a Hope for Recovery Fund as well. So local businesses, individuals, churches will contribute to that fund, and that helps. So if there's an individual that can't come up with the $700, because we get people coming from all walks of life, from all places, jails, everywhere, so that gets them the ability to come in if they don't have the funds, and then they still, on the tail end, would get that $700.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit more about your facility. I think that you mentioned before this that it holds so many people, and so what's the number?
So we have 32 beds. One of them, 2 beds are for a night monitor, which are people that have graduated the program and want to stay on, and you know what I'm saying, maybe save a little bit more money or whatever. And they help us at nighttime as far as they're considered voluntary staff. And of course, we have an internship program that's 1 year long, and so we have one bed is designated for an intern at all times, and then we have a capacity for 30 residents, so we can hold 30 guys.
So what are some of the things that the guys do during the time that they're there? I mean, it sounds like there's some discipleship that takes place and some teaching, and how does that work, or how does that unfold?
So that is the primary focus of the ministry as well, is discipleship. Yes, there is a recovery process, but what we do, the heart of what we do is discipleship. It's a year-long discipleship program for men in recovery. We have men from local churches, local church community come in and disciple these men through the different phases in the program, kind of what you were talking about. They do Bible studies. They do certain classes. They're required to do chores, keep things in order. They come down. They serve at the Celebration Center 3 days a week, taking care of the church as well. So there's a lot of different ways for them to grow in the program.
Yeah, and from what I understand, you're looking for more men that would have a heart to teach and to
Yeah.
lead, that are solid in their faith, I'm sure. Is there a process that you go through for getting people signed up for that or volunteer?
Yeah, so there's a simple form that they can fill out. There's also videos that are attached that they can kind of look and see, does this pique my interest? Is this something that I would like to do? Do I feel called to this? And then I'll train them on things. I'll take them through a process of, this is how we do it. Here's all the ins and the outs. So we don't really just chuck them in there and throw them to the fish, so to speak. So we do train them up and show them how we run things as well.
So as far as like the stay, how remind me how long the stay is for somebody that's in recovery.
So it's a 12-month program.
Okay.
It's a 3-phase program. The first 30 days is first phase, which is in-house. It's where they do most of two counseling sessions a week.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And of course we have DR every day, daily review, and then we have morning time. We have a devotion every morning, and we get up and do chores and all that kind of stuff. So the first 30 days, the guys are just kind of getting to know the program and focusing on God and Jesus, and the counselors are walking them through it, doing book work, and then after 30 days, they go to the second phase, which they're qualified to go to VT, which we partner with local businesses, and so that lasts for 40 weeks, I do believe.
Yeah.
And for 40 weeks, after 40 weeks, they, of course, why they're in second phase, they get out and go to VT. It teaches them getting back, be reliable. We go to work every day, VT, vocational training. We do that every day, and just building them up, and it gives them purpose, and they're really hungry. These guys are really hungry to do well. They've been just fed with Jesus and full up with the Word, and they want to, it just works out really good. And so after 40 weeks, they go to third phase, which their VT partner usually hires them. They have a choice; they can be hired, either take that job, or they can go find another one if wherever they want to work, as long as they do 40 hours a week. For the last 2 months, they keep all their money, they save their money. So this program is set up for success. You're not any rehabilitation center I've just about ever been in dealing with. When the program's over, it's over. So, but we encourage guys to come back and mentor and stay involved in the program. So after a year, they're well seated in the church. They have a support community in the church. They've been at their VT for a while, so they're ready to go on to the next stage. They're just set up for success.
Yeah.
And I think we have like a 71% for success rate on guys that have graduated, which we're about to graduate our 40th guy in Belpre, I believe Wednesday on the 19th.
Yeah.
On the 19th, our 40th graduate is coming through. So you're just set up for success, and it's up to you.
No, I'm sure that, that's fantastic. 40, that's great, because I'm sure that there's a lot of hardships with people entering the program at first. I'm sure that that's probably the crucial time, is that first 90 days.
Yes, sir.
Mm, yeah.
And so there's probably a lot of people that if you get them through that initial 90 days, I'm sure you see a lot more success with their progress.
Yeah.
Well, you get to the little hurdles. I went through the program myself, and so I was a really angry guy. You know what I'm saying? I knew I had a purpose in my life. I just didn't know what it was. And peace only lives on the other side of surrender, and we those little hurdles to the surrendering. It's like, okay, God, I'm going to do it your way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to put myself aside. I'm going to take me out of it and not manipulate situations, and just wake up every morning and give myself to you every day. It's a daily process. You have to do it every day. It's not a one-time thing, never. So it's an everyday thing, and it builds you up, and then every little for me when I went through it, I think I was about in my third month when I really decided, I was like, man, I don't want to do this, but I don't want to go back to living a unfulfilling life, a life with no purpose, with that empty feeling that it's in all of us that only God can feel. It's his spot,
Yeah.
and I can't unlearn what I know. You know what I'm saying? And he grabbed a hold to me, and I just learned it. I just felt that peace when I finally just said, okay, God, I'm going to do this. If it kills me, I'm going to do it. And then once I got and made that decision, I just I didn't talk to anybody for like 3 days. I was having a really hard time, real spiritual battle going on. The devil was trying to get me. He was trying to get me to leave. He was trying to get me to walk away, and I can do this without this. I don't need God. La, la, la. You know what I'm saying? You know how he works. And I just said, Lord, I'm going to stay. I'm just going to do it. I'm doing. He wants us to be still. This year, it takes this year to be still. The Bible says, be still. And
a lot of times we try to do things on our own, and sometimes we just need to surrender and let God.
Amen.
And it's a daily thing because the devil's always coming at us from different ways. And I found out when I wake up in the morning time and I say, Lord, this is your vessel. I'm your servant. Whatever you put in front of me today, Lord, I hope that I'm spirit led to be, and that I'm a good steward of whatever you give me and whatever decisions I have to make. You know what I'm saying? Just give me wisdom to keep Christ in the center of everything that I do, and it just works. That's the only way it works. And I find that as long as I do that, I have good days. Nothing's perfect, but we can handle that. I know God's in charge. So if this does something I don't expect, I'm just like, okay, they just got to roll with it. So when you wake up in the morning time, and this is what I had to get to, when I wake up in the morning time and I say, Lord, I'm yours. You're in charge. Well, that's it. That settles it.
Yeah.
Well, he's already in charge anyway, but it's for myself, that settles it for me. So that's just how
I
it is.
think a lot of times our disappointment comes from our own expectations, right? It's not God's expectations; it's our expectations.
Well, as a recovering addict, we're really good manipulators, and the first thing we want to do is, it's a struggle, because I have to be able to recognize when I'm doing something. I can't tweak anything. You know what I'm saying? I can do the best of my ability at what I'm doing in a Christ-like manner, but a lot of times we tend to try to do a little of this and a little of that. Well, see, you could be messing up doing that. I had to really watch that because.
Well, and I think what's really cool about your story, Mike, is that, God took you from where you were, and then now God's using you and you found your purpose. And it sounds like what does it mean to you to see people come from out of the program and have success?
Well, it's just really inspirational. Addiction is it's just really a bad thing everywhere, but especially in the Valley area. Yeah. And it just what keeps me going. It's why I do this. I see a lot of guys come and a lot of guys go, but it's those success stories, and I get to watch those. I get to watch these guys come in broken. You know what I'm saying? And lost, and just the devil just, their life is just wrecked. And then you get to see these little hurdles they get over, the ones that'll do it, and everybody's not ready for it. We have a lot of young people that come in, but a seed's planted, you know what I'm saying? And I know I got saved when I was 20 years old, but I didn't have any nurture. I didn't have a hope center. So the devil is right there to choke that seed out in whatever way he can, and he's got many ways of doing it. If it could be through a woman, through money, through family, through anybody, but I lived a lot of miserable years. I'm not saying I wasn't successful in certain ways, but I was unsuccessful in a lot of ways, like being happy and being miserable and knowing how to show emotions to my daughters and stuff like that, because I was just a really angry person. And so when I see the guys I see them. Some of them, it takes a short. It's a step thing, and then some of them come in and they just something happens and it hits them just like that, and it's like it's different for everybody, and it's inspirational and lets me know what I'm doing. I know I'm doing what God wants me to do, and I just love seeing people happy and somebody coming in like really angry like I was. Don't talk. I mean, mean mugging all the time and stuff like this. Stay away from me because I was just miserable in my own skin. But then once I learned to surrender to the Lord and I found that peace on the other side of it. And that's the only time I found it. Peace only lives on the other side of surrender, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. Until you get to that point, you're never going to have the full peace of God. So
I'm sure probably that's the reason why the name is Hope, because it seems like you people walk into the facility with brokenness and just heartache, and they come out on the other side of it with hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's nice that it's not, wishful thinking. We have assurance in Christ. We know that through the word that we have assurance. It's something we can bank on and guarantee that he is good on his promises, that he is faithful and just, that he is with us in the hard times. Yes, we will go through hard times, but we got to understand that Christ has overcome those things. Yep. And so through the process, that's what we're trying to show them. Yeah, man, there's going to be some tough roads ahead, but if you stick through, if you persevere and go through it, you're going to come out on the other side better because of it, and you'll be thankful for those things. And that's the things I've learned through my little bit of time with the Lord is I'm grateful for some of the hardest things I walk through, because I wouldn't be who I am or where I am without those things. Amen. So. And
let me ask you that same question, Corey. What has the Hope Center meant for you, and just seeing these guys go through that and graduate?
Man, so many different things. I know personally in my own walk, I think I've grown more in this place than anywhere else. It's challenged me as an individual, as a Christ follower, to live more Christ-like, to be more compassionate, to be more understanding. I was very much brought up in the sense of I had a mentor that said, "Look, I don't care about your feelings, but what I do care about your life." So I was very it was a hard thing, but
you were given truth.
Yes, a lot of truth. And that's what I need. But he loved me in the same respect, but, it's taught me to be more compassionate. And I can't blanket people. I can't treat you the same way that I treat him. And so that's been a process for me, which in turn has helped me in my family life, I think, as well, to apply those same things in my home life. It's been a blessing and an encouragement just to watch these men walk with the Lord. It's just like we got a guy who just got into third phase, had a hard time for a while, and really God has turned him around probably in the past, month. But you just see a different spirit about him. And then next thing you know, he's got a job. He went to get a VW Beetle or a Bug or whatever, came out with a Porsche.
How'd that work out?
And then, amen, right? And then he's got a home that two of the other guys are going to go and live in. And now last night I had the opportunity to train him on how to mentor and give back. And so that just, things like that are encouraging. There was another guy who son had overdosed, was a child, overdosed. And CPS stepped in and basically said, you can't be with the mom, you can't be with the child. So it was like the first 4 to 6 months while he was with us, no contact whatsoever with any of them, which was hard for him. Yeah. But he continued to do what was in front of him, just kept putting one foot in front of the other. And I can remember, I got the picture, somebody else got the picture where she came running into his arms and jumped into him. And then we got to watch that child on Friday nights at Family Support go from crawling to running around the room like he had to chase him around. We're doing lesson and worship, and he's chasing the kid around the room. But that child would come in and high five everybody, fist bump everybody. So just to see that, and now he is also a foreman at one of our vocational trainings spots. Great. And so we've got guys that are actually hired up under him now.
Fantastic.
There was a house that they purchased that was completely run down that they have rebuilt. And so to just see what God's done, God has done very much the same thing with their lives. Yeah. Has completely rebuilt them from the ground up. and they're a beautiful testament to the church and to Christ for the world to see.
And really, that speaks to that foundation being down here,
Yeah.
and getting that worked, and then other things can kind of transform outside of that, but it starts here.
Yeah, and that's the scripture we always talk about, right? Right when they come in, 6:33 in Matthew. You seek God, you seek His kingdom first, and then everything else is going to take care of itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So, as far as, like you mentioned families, how are families impacted for those that go into recovery? Is there things that you guys do to help them or just kind of encourage them, or is it just a focus on the men first and their relationship? Or, is there a bridge between the family and to that person at some point?
yeah, I think that's another thing I think that sets apart Hope Center Ministries is the involvement level that the family is able to have. Because as soon as the resident gets there, they can come and be a part of Celebrate Recovery.
Okay.
They can come and be at the Wednesday night Bible study. They can come and be at church with them. They can come and we do a family support night at the center, so they can come. And then they also have a visitation on Sunday afternoons. Once they get past 45 days in the program, the resident can get two passes to where they can go off grounds for about 6 hours. And I make myself available to the families as well for a couple hours. Like I'm available all the time, but I set aside a couple specific hours if they have questions, they need prayer, those type of things. And we got a great support church in the sense that they very much are there with the families through the process as well and make themselves available to them as well.
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It sounds like to me that, thinking about recovery, and maybe you can help me walk through this, but the one step is to remove them from their environment, right? And that's why they stay at that location, is to get them out of the context of what they're in. Maybe it's friends, or maybe it's the place where they live, or just the habits they have. So I'm sure, is that all there is to that, or is there other ideas, the reason why they go off site and stay at that location?
Sometimes it has to do with where we can put them, where we have availability, whether they are paying for a bed or whether they need scholarship. A lot of times, a scholarship will determine where they go. Or VT, vocational training. Some of our centers aren't doing as well with VT as they could be or should be. So we don't want to have a lot of guys in second phase sitting on the couch. But idle minds, the devil's workshop, and so. A lot of that's me myself. I'm from Tupelo, Mississippi, and my a lot of it's people, places, and things too. Because if you're 800 or 900 miles away from the center, from home at a center, and say the devil gets on you and he starts whispering those lies in your ear, and you want to leave, it's a lot more difficult than calling one of your buddies to drive 2 or 3 miles to come pick you up and leave. And that, that was a big factor for me. For me, and the time when I did decide I wanted to leave the center, that, I'm like, oh, wow. It gave me time to think about it. I had to sit and really think about it. And that was a time that my peers and people that had been in the center for a while, and guys love you there, they're going to talk to me and talk sense into me, because the devil attacks us all the time. So I went through the center and last year, and then I went to the intern program for a year, and I met my wife up here. So now
awesome.
instead of 3 daughters, I have 6 daughters. And
that's awesome.
I met her, so I'm married. I'll probably never live in Mississippi again. I'm gonna go wherever the Lord sends me, and so it's just, He'll change your life in so many ways if you submit to Him. I'm telling you, if you'd asked me 3 years ago, or told me that I would be in Belpre, Marietta, Ohio, the director of a Hope Center, I would have just said, okay, I would have dropped my jaw and told you, I don't believe you. So
there's no way for that to happen.
But the Lord, I'm telling you, when God starts opening doors, He can open doors and He can close doors.
Yeah.
And nothing's too big for Him, and you have to have that mindset all the time. That's why I just give it to God. Let Him be responsible for the consequences.
If there's somebody that's dealing with issues of addiction, what would be some things or advice that you'd give them to kind of take that step to get into a Hope Center? What would you tell them?
I'd say you're not alone. There's a lot of people, especially in this area. You're not alone in the battle and the struggle, whether it's a family member or whether it's somebody directly walking through it. but know that there's hope. That there are people that God has brought out of those places, and it's not just for those people. God ultimately wants to rescue all people.
Yeah.
He desires that none should perish, but all should come to that. And so I would encourage them. You know, I understand it's hard, but if you come to God, you come to. I just think about when I came to church, man. I thought the church was going to burn to the ground when I came in the place. You know, I was a guy. There was no God. God doesn't exist. There can't be a God in a world like this. And I swore it was going to burn to the ground. But all I received was the love of God, and it was through those people. You get in some good environments, get around some good Bible believing people that love the Lord and love people. Man, all things are possible in and through Christ. That's what I know.
Yeah, and as you share that, it sounds like there's a lot of accountability and a lot of fellowship that you try to build into the program to kind of help people receive that, so they're not alone, right? They're encouraged through the Bible studies, through the interactions with each other, and the support and encouragement you guys try to build into the program.
And we build up the residents to where there's some leadership as well instilled in the house, community leaders. So they also have these pockets of guys to where they're accountable to one another. They go through what you call the daily reviews. That's what we call it, daily reviews, where they'll ask each other, hey, today, man, where were you at spiritually? Where were you at mentally? Where were you at emotionally? Do you owe somebody an amends? And they work through those things together.
Describe that a little bit, the amends. What does that mean? Forgiveness or grace?
Yes. That we want to extend what God has so graciously, freely extended to us, because we didn't deserve it, but God gave it to us.
I'm sure that's an aspect too that people don't realize, that sometimes a lot of the recovery process isn't just the addiction part. It's the pain or the hurt that they've experienced in their past that kind of drives them to that area of self-medicating in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, we have to forgive ourselves too. It's just not about forgiveness for other people, but you have to forgive yourself. That's
it's part of that feeling lost. You feel like you can't overcome the pain or the hurt, whether it's self-inflicted or.
Well, with the 3-step program that we have, and this is a really, really great, that we have new guys that come in the center, but they're intermingling with guys that've been there 8 months, 9 months, 10 months. They see, and I'm not a materialistic guy, but they see this guy driving up in this Porsche. They see them being successful, smiling. I tell. How many men I tell them I love them every day? How many times I tell this guy I love him? I never told guys I loved him before. I've never even told my dad I loved him. Now, every guy I see and I affiliate with, I love them because I do love them. It's Christ in them. And I love them through me. You know what I'm saying? He's put love in my heart, not anger and empathy. And when I went through the center, I worked at WVU. I did my vocational training in the ER. And I'll tell you, it changed me. God knows exactly what he's doing. Yeah. That guy that was violent like I was and had a lot of guilt from things the way I'd lived my life and the situations I had been in and stuff, very uncomfortable around any kind of emotion, used certain tactics to keep people away from me, whether it mean mugging or the way I carried myself or whatever, just not, it really was uncomfortable for me to open up because,
it's very easy to kind of put that persona out, right? Like, don't touch me, don't be around
life.
me. Yeah.
So right when I'm getting to that, and I'm starting to like this, you know what I'm saying? So then I get put in this in the ER situation where I'm working in like 34 rooms in the ER, and so I'll see all this tragedy, and there's no feeling sorry for yourself if you work in the ER. It taught me empathy. I don't tell you how many times in the hallway outside of those trauma rooms that I hit my knees because of certain things that going on. And I'm like, Lord, I don't know what it did to me. I don't know what it did to me, but I'm telling you, it changed me and God used it. And I know exactly, in hindsight, he is right on it. He knows exactly what we need when we need it. If we submit to him.
Yeah.
I'm sure that whole, being there showed you, sometimes it's so easy to look at our issues, and a lot of times, how we get out of that is looking at other people's issues and caring for them, because we realize that we don't really have it as bad as we think compared to everybody else.
And you know what? I look at life now, and I want to please. I want to please the Lord. I want to do what He wants me to do because I mess things up, and sometimes I do anyways. But I just make myself, just like, God help me if I'm having issues, help me, and I'm surrounded by help. I don't have to do anything alone. I'm never alone now because I have Jesus. He's with me all the time. So.
I just wanted to say it. I was just thinking about the 40 guys that you guys were able to graduate from your program in 4 years. That's 10 guys a year.
Yeah.
That's great. What would be the ultimate, like future goal for you guys? Like where would you like to see it go to hit a number of 100 or, what's kind of like maybe the average you'd like for each year to be?
I'd like to see everybody that comes in the center graduate. I don't know how to put like God, he
don't want to put
he
a
desires for
it.
everybody to be saved, and
Absolutely.
so do I. So that's what it's all about. And I've learned in the director's role, I don't stereotype people and never judge a book by its cover because as I was going through my internship and learning these things, I had a great teacher. His name's Timothy Damesworth, which is the regional director of the Northeast. Yeah. And I was under him for 2 years, and I learned so much from that guy. And every time I went and picked a lot of guys up. I was a driver and did all this kind of stuff. And it's real easy to look at somebody and say, "Oh man," but God has taught me not to do that no more, and I just don't do that anymore. I don't. Yeah.
It's amazing that God can change, and sometimes we don't think about what God can do because we sometimes unintentionally put limits on God when God can do the
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And I don't do that because I've seen guys come in and struggle and buck and not do the program and get right up to pointing out. And then all of a sudden, bang, they do a complete 360, complete turnaround.
That's awesome.
So, and I'm like, wow, the guy, guys, and just, I got a guy right now that I thought I was going to have to dismiss. He just wouldn't do it. He wasn't getting it, just doing crazy stuff. And all of a sudden, he is just flipped over and turned over. And it's like, he's like one of our, everybody likes him now. He's always trying to help people.
Awesome.
He's just completely turned it around.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he's told me, he said, so many times, he says, "Man, thanks for not giving up on me. I'm saying, thank you for this and thank you for that." And I'm saying, look, ain't nothing's too big for God. I promise you that.
Yeah.
You do your part, and He's going to do His. It says, draw nigh to Him, and He'll draw nigh to you, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's, again, just really cool how you guys mentioned that there's always people ahead of them, too, that they can see, okay, here's the next level and see where they're at. And it kind of gives them hope in that sense, too, that, hey, this guy's right with me. He was in the same situation. Now he's a step up ahead of me or something, but it's not out of reach,
That's what I try to encourage the guys. Look, man, if you've been in here a week, you've got something to offer this new guy.
Yeah.
You don't have to be here for a year to have something to offer the next guy.
Yeah.
You've got experiences that he doesn't have yet. You're a little further along in the journey than he is. So I want to make sure that they're empowered and know that they have a place and a purpose in Christ. And that's very much what I received on the journey, was to understand that I had something to offer the next guy when I didn't feel like I had anything to ever offer anybody.
Yeah. So how can the churches be more helpful to help you guys, continue your ministry and do what you guys do?
I'd say tear down the wall. That's what I would say. Tear down the wall. Forget about names on the walls, and let's go and let's seek the lost people, because that was the whole mission of Christ, to seek and save that which was lost. And I think that's what we see at Hope Center Ministries, as the wall comes crashing down, and you see Seventh-day Adventists, you see Baptists, you see every walk of life come in there to support these men on the walk. So that's how I'd put it simply: tear down the wall.
Yeah. And I know there's areas where you're looking, like we mentioned before. I just want to highlight again that you're looking for men to come in and lead a Bible study, to help teach. Is there any other areas where people can help out?
Well, our vocational training program, I'm working on getting different contracts. We could always, be supported that way. We have guys that are some suited for some vocational training and some are suited for others. So I've been really focusing on VT. So local businesses that are willing to partner with us through our vocational training program, we get the guys back and forth. We take care of everything on that side, and they're there every day. So really, VT has been a big issue for our center, but it's getting better.
Good.
We've been working towards and talking to a lot of different companies. So any local businesses that would be interested in supporting us through that way,
Is that just a call to you, or is there a form that filled out on a website, or can we?
Well, I mean, it's just a call. You could call me.
Okay.
I'd be the one to talk to through that, and then I would set up a meeting with them, usually between myself and my regional director, and we have a certain contract that we have signed, and we'll meet with them and discuss, answer any questions that they have about our program,
Sure.
and kind of lay it out to them, and then sometimes we go in and sign a contract right then, and then sometimes depending on the corporation or what it is, a lot of bigger places have corporate they have to go through and all those kind of things. So
when you mention a contract, what's that like for like the year or 6 months?
The contract is like for the second phase, the 40 weeks.
Okay.
So they actually are considered volunteers. So they go and that gives a company time to pick and to, what I'm saying? I really, the whole time I was in the center, I didn't never see a company not hire somebody that didn't just want to do something different. So our contract is it's actually for the whole second and third phase, but at the end of second phase, they're actually hired into the company.
Okay.
And so it becomes their responsibility then, but they still have to go to VT 40 hours a week until they graduate. Of course, they still have to get a certain curriculum that they have to go through. They have to go to church. They have to go to family support. They have to go to Celebrate Recovery, things like that. But they can kind of go and come as they please during the daytime. They have a curfew they have to be in every night until they graduate. So, and then I've never kicked anybody out the door. So a lot of times the guys will stay a little bit longer, a night monitor position or whatever, if they're looking for a place. So that's what's great about the Hope Centers is we care. We want them set up. You're set up. You never put out. You're never alone. You always have a support system. So everything is about the resident. We put the resident first.
Yeah, that's great. And so just so I understand, so again, they go in for 40 weeks and they just volunteer. Right. But that's the hope that at the end of that 40 weeks that they're evaluated by that company.
Yes, sir.
And the potential is that they would hire them being a good employee. Okay.
Right.
I just want to make sure I understand that.
Yeah, and that gives them the opportunity to not live within a bubble. They get to go out and live out Christ in the world and experience life on life's terms through God.
I'm sure for some guys it rehabilitates them in the workplace too, because some of these guys probably haven't even been able to have a steady job or something because of their issues or the background that they had to lose their job maybe.
Well, when you're in addiction, that addiction, that's the first thing in your life.
Oh yeah.
So you wake up and that addiction is going to come first before work or job or responsibility of a family or anything like that. So they're trained that work comes first. Well, God comes first, and then family, and then your job. You have to go to work. It's just our society. We have to be functional.
You don't work, you don't eat.
That's right. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. And you got to contribute.
Yeah. And then Corey, you mentioned too, again, just want to highlight that there's a form that people would fill out if they want to participate in leading a Bible study, leading a ministry for you guys or something like that.
There is a form. Okay. That they can fill out. That's something normally I give to them. So initially the conversation would be with me.
So again, like a phone call to you or a phone call to you as far as what aspect, whether it's the business side or whether it's volunteering in some aspect, they'd reach out to you as far as teaching. Okay.
Yeah.
And then as far as people wanting to hey, somebody that they know, a family member's dealing with addiction or somebody that has a problem with addiction, is there a certain number they call to reach out and say, I want to be at this place. I I want to, get into the recovery program?
Yeah, we have an admissions coordinator as well.
Okay.
That's one of our other staff positions. So
Awesome.
there's the two of us and then the admissions coordinator.
Yeah, and we got a nationwide, call center.
Okay.
Yeah, so
there's
yeah.
a 1-800 number that people can call and reach
Yes.
out to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Most people, I found it online just at Hope Center. I'd never even heard of the Hope Center till a couple months before I came to the Hope Center. So
Oh wow! So you just kind of searched on your own for a place that you could go to?
I actually was talking to another place, and I, because of my violent past or whatever, you know what I'm saying, they asked me a lot of questions. I didn't qualify for that place, and they mentioned the Hope Center to me. The Hope Center is going to take you, So I called the Hope Center. I called the call center, talked to a guy in Oklahoma City, and he called me back. I called him on a Sunday, and I said, it was Sunday if you're off. I said, would it be better if I talked to you tomorrow? And he said, well, yeah, I'm kind of with my family right now. So the guy called me back the next day, and within 2 days, I was on a bus to Oklahoma City. So I originally in August of 22 went to Oklahoma City to the Bethany Center, but I was there for 2.5 weeks, and my ex-wife passed away from COVID.
Oh, wow.
So we had a minor child together. So I ended up leaving. So I had to leave, and I went back to Mississippi. I stayed there about 6 months, getting things in order. We had a minor child together. She was 18. So got all that took care of, and then I said, well, I'm ready to go back to the Hope Center. And my daughter also told me, she said, Dad, I'm ready for you to go back to the Hope Center. So I called the guy that I knew. His name's Gary Grace. That was the national recovery pastor at the center in Oklahoma City that I went to, and he said, "Well, just let me put you back into the call center." And I thought I would be going back to Oklahoma City, and I could have went back to Oklahoma City, but they mentioned Wheeling because they just opened that center there 2 years ago, and it's a new center, and so I just it's farther away from home. It's like 600 miles from my home to Oklahoma, and it's like 900 miles. So my daughter didn't want me to go to Wheeling because it was further away, and I just felt pulled for some reason to go to Wheeling, and that's how I got here. I went to Wheeling and went through the program, and then graduated the program, interned. I was in community leadership. Probably half the time I was in the program, and then I met my wife at the hospital. After I graduated the program, because I dealt with the hospital a lot. It was part of my job, like guys we had going to VT or whatever. And so I met her, and then I ended up getting married May the 19th, and just been happy as can be.
In the Hope Center too, didn't you?
Yeah.
You got married in the Hope Center.
I got married in the Hope Center. Had my wedding at the
awesome.
Hope Center. Yeah. Surely did.
Is there anything that maybe we didn't get it fully expressed at this point that you guys feel like you definitely want to make sure that people know about?
I just would like to say the one part about it that is make your eyes widen up is the year. When people hear it's a year-long program, because most programs are tops 90 days or whatever. But when you leave that program, they're going to take you in there, and when your insurance is up or your time is up, and you're just out the door. You know what I'm saying? You've did whatever. This place, when you come to the Hope Center, you are set up for success. It takes a year. It's time to be still. Dedicate that year to the Lord. Learn God from the beginning, the story, how He put a plan right at the beginning in for our redemption. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We got to know. You can't hear that from talking to somebody. You got to get into it and find. I would say get into it yourself. Read it for yourself. That's what God says to you, because people will lead you astray.
Yeah.
But the Hope Center is going to set you up for success, and a year is nothing. It is nothing. It goes by so quick, and it just takes that long to change.
Yeah, it sounds like having that year is really going to help set you up for success. And
yes, sir.
And with the whole mentality of giving you a foundation in Christ that's going to last you the rest of your life.
So I built houses 37 years of my life. That's all I've ever done. And the Hope Center changed me, and it gave me a whole new purpose. And I realize what my purpose is now, and that's to serve God and to try to bring as many people to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ that I can, to do whatever He asked me to do whenever He asked me to do it. And my whole life has changed. hindsight is 20/20, but you know, I'm just a different person, and I owe it all to the Hope Center. So God really works. He really moves to the Hope Center. They care.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Corey, as far as anything that we missed or maybe things
No,
that
I think he said everything.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for what you do. And I really can tell that you guys have such a heart for this and that you have a calling upon your lives to invest in these men that need help. And so thank you from, just my heart that I love pouring into people. It's cool to see that you guys love to pour into people and meet them where they're at. And so many times we expect people to be where we're at,
Right.
where we got to be looking for that lost sheep and going to them rather than, and I think that's kind of what your thoughts were about tearing down walls and really going out in places where we can reach people for Christ. So it sounds like there's a lot of good things happening and a lot of great things. And again, we just want to make sure that we get the word out that, hey, there's a great resource here. You guys have been, still kind of young in the sense that you're 4 years old, but there's a lot of work to be done. And so thank you guys for being here today to kind of share that.
Thanks for having us.
So can I state my
Sure.
my email?
Yeah.
Like for anybody.
Yeah,
my email is m.harrell@hopecm.com. If anybody would like to reach out to me about any questions or our program, then feel free to shoot me an email. And of course, he is c.chambers@hopecm.com.
Yeah, and what we'll try to do is add this to the end of this message or video. That way that we can have that, and maybe you can give me your phone numbers and stuff that you want to be used to call, or the 1-800 number to reach out, because that would be a great addition for everybody to reach out to you guys. Again, thank you guys for what you do. Thank you for coming in today. I know this is kind of a different format, but it's been really good to have a good conversation with you guys and see what the Hope Center is really about. So thank you for taking the time to do that.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us.
Thanks.